I know, right? Right. All right. Leaders manage meetings. Oh my gosh. How many of you have been in meetings before? And some of them are really good, right? And some of them go really wrong. Some of them leave the meeting and you have no clue what you met about, right? Go ahead, RJ. What you got your hand up?
Oh, no, I was just saying I've been in plenty of meetings, so yes.
You've been in plenty of meetings. Chataria, turn your mic off, please. So managers or anybody, it doesn't even have to be a manager. When you're holding a meeting, there are certain guidelines you need to follow so that your meeting can be effective, number one, and it can be successful, so that people walk away knowing what the meeting was even about. I can tell you, I've been in some and they've been wicked. So if you look there on page 212, that's where we're at in chapter 8. They've got the Roberts Rules of Orders. Has anybody ever heard of that before? I never did until I came to school. You have, Josh? It really, Robert's Rule of Orders, it sets the rules for conducting meetings in an organized way and allows everyone to be heard, all right, and make decisions without confusion. Sometimes this is hard, but it can be done. The first thing you got to think about is the type of meeting. Are you going to have an informational meeting? That's what this is right here. We're not trying to solve a problem, are we? I'm here, I'm conducting this virtual class, which in essence is an online meeting, and I am relaying information to you about our chapter, about management in this book. We're not here to solve a problem. That would be the second type of meeting, is your problem-solving meetings, when you're coming together trying to, really you're trying to just discover how you're going to solve a problem or give information to individuals on how to solve a problem. Then you've got brainstorming meetings. That's where, you would probably have a lot of those with your employees. I can see that in the food industry. How can we cut food costs, right? How can we, as an organization, you as employees, that would be brainstorming. They help you develop a list of ideas of how to solve something, okay? And then you've got action meetings, all right? Action meetings are brief meetings involving just a few employees. That would be maybe the manager going to the line cook and, hey, how can we solve this? You put it into action now. Does that make sense? It is something that you're going to put into action right then and there. It's not something you're going to measure later and you're going to talk about later. It's going to be now. And then in there, they have emergency meetings. Those are things, emergency is an emergency is an emergency. It's immediate, correct? Immediate. So you need to keep that in mind. That's immediate action, just what I said. So avoiding problems in a meeting, you need to take a look at those. The biggest one, I find it interesting, I got it underlined in my book, is, again, the meeting fails to explain what the meeting was even for. You have no clue why they held that meeting. What was it for? That is the number one, avoiding problems. Make sure when your people walk away, they know what that meeting was for. What was the purpose? What did it solve? What did it do? Make sure you're clear and concise, that you're able to get that across. You get a lot of people, here's another pitfall. A lot of people don't take it serious. They don't prepare. All right. Meetings should be planned and prepared just like everything else in business to be successful. They're too long. All right. I could be guilty of that, right? Everybody go ahead and shake your head because I'm wordy. Could you imagine a meeting with me? Thank you, Krista. Could you imagine a meeting with me? I do try to keep them clear and concise. There's so much more I want to say when we're together. I'm trying to keep it clear and concise. But yeah, you got to be careful of that. You got to make sure that you're taking it serious, that you plan it, you have an outline for it, and you stay on track. Too long, obviously. Meetings can cause stress. I mean, really, you get a lot of different personalities together. You do it after a long shift. Can you imagine? That could be crazy. So, you know, they can cause stress. Some people dominate meetings. There are tactful ways, and anytime you get a group of people together, there are certain individuals that dominate, and you've got to learn to constructively cut them off, go the other direction, not allow them to envelop the whole meeting and the meeting be about them. So, you know, even in the class, sometimes you have personalities, and it's not that you're trying to be rude or disrespectful, but you just got to kind of navigate away, because sometimes it can be drawn to them and, you know, stay on them. Again, the information can be confusing, right? You want to make sure clear and concise. That's all I'm going to say about that. Clear and concise. There should be no confusion about why you're there, what you're doing, how you're doing, why, all that kind of stuff. All right. So, and here's another good one. Just like now, many people don't say what they think. When you hold a meeting as a manager, you want it to be an open forum where people can share their opinions without fear of ridicule, without fear of their job being in jeopardy or things like that. How many of you can, somebody give me an example of a meeting that you were in and there were things that you wanted to say, but you didn't because you didn't either want your coworkers to have a bad opinion of you or you didn't want your management to take anything out on you? Does anybody have a story they can share? Go ahead, Patrice.
All the time at my last job, they'll constantly try to create these forums where people can speak their mind, and they would sometimes exclude your immediate manager, but the director would still probably be there. So you know that you can say what you feel, but not really, because it was all, I don't know, it was more of a formality than it was actually trying to get your opinion.
Right. There you go. And that happens. But let me tell you, and I'm going to say it is kind of hard because there's a fine line between you want everybody's opinion, but by the same token, you want to be very delicate, right? Even as a manager, you don't want owners to know, or as employees, it can be a fine line dance, but you really want to strive to have openness and honesty. That, I mean, at least I do, you know, it's even like with you guys. I may not like what you say, but I want to hear it so that I can maybe alter behaviors or change how things are going. I've just always been that way. So planning effective meetings. I don't think I need to go through every one of the meeting process there on page 215, but remember I told you all my little bubbles? Let's bubble that, okay? Because you do need to know. First, you've got to plan for your meetings. You got to, the biggest thing, what's the objective, right? What is this meeting for? You need to know that. And then you can develop agendas and so forth and so on. Conduct the meeting, just like right now. I'm having this virtual class. I'm taking roll. You need to have some sort of participant sign-in so that you know who's there. You can keep track of who has this information. And then again, you can review agenda, identify a reporter. That would be someone who's taking notes or, you know, whatever about the meeting. You would complete meeting assignments, which are typically, I know I have it used to be Cake Club, now I call it Sharing Sugar, but we do meetings, and when we do meetings, I have someone taking minutes of the meetings, following up with whatever we discuss so that we can go back, you know, if we discuss getting t-shirts made, I can go back and see what we voted on, things like that. And then making sure that people are carrying through, hey, you know what, you're going to embroider these shirts, making sure that you're going back and embroidering them. And then, of course, gathering materials to plan for the next meeting. all of this kind of sounds like common sense, but some of us don't go through this process and we don't think about the process, and therefore we may fall short in some areas. So that just kind of gives you the ideas of how to plan an effective meeting, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and flip on over because we've talked about meeting attendees, keeping a signature, register, whatever, they call it participant sign-in. Meeting frequencies, you know, when you're working for an establishment or you're managing an establishment, you've got to really determine how often should you meet. I know in the construction field, we held safety meetings once a week. We met with our employees every morning before they went off on their respective jobs. In the food industry, I think it's important, pre-shift meeting, right? So everybody knows what's coming. We talked about this before, communication. What are some other scenarios where you would feel a meeting would be required or should take place? Anybody got any ideas? Go ahead, Josh.
Me personally, especially if you're starting up a new operation, then you want to meet with all of the staff so that you can make sure that you're all on the same page. You can get any ideas for how they might like to proceed, or being able to figure out strategies to be able to try and either, one, mitigate, or two, completely avoid any pitfalls that are the obvious traps that come with opening a new operation. So Correct. You want to meet with that, or meet with your staff at least, I'd say at least a week beforehand, and definitely the day that you're actually opening, so that you can go over everything.
Absolutely. Good answer. RJ, go ahead.
I think it's required when you have last minute changes.
Absolutely. Perfect. Yeah, so y'all get the idea. I mean, meetings are important, as well as how you hold them. When you hold them is important. And that's what they talk about there, meeting frequencies, and you can go through that. And then developing your agenda, you need to know the name or the type of meeting so you can name it. Date, time, location, right? Names the person who should attend. If I'm having a meeting right before lunch service, do I necessarily, and this is pertaining to back of house, all right, this is pertaining to the line, do I need to have someone from cleaning staff in that meeting? No. You want to have only the people that it's pertinent to. Who's involved in the decision making or the information or whatever type of meeting you're wanting to get across. So you need to know the persons who should attend, because not everybody needs to be involved in everything. Agreed? Y'all give me thumbs up. All right, so you can look there, a sample of a meeting agenda. Scheduling your meeting, again, I'm not going to go through all of that, but just know you need to think about when you're going to schedule a meeting. You wouldn't schedule a meeting in the middle of a huge dinner rush. You wouldn't schedule a meeting after an exhaustive service. You want to schedule meetings ideally when it's appropriate for the individuals that are going to attend, okay? I wouldn't schedule a meeting on Saturday after you guys worked all week, Monday through Friday, and expecting you to come in on a Saturday. Now, if it's an emergency, or if it's some sort of emergency we need to address on a Saturday, sure, but otherwise not. Before meeting activities and assignments, all right? So these are, if you read there's some questions, and I'm on the middle of page 219. If you look at those questions, they'll help you determine the type of before the meeting activities needed, okay? I won't read all of those, but you need to determine what pre-activities or assignments need to be done. Kind of like your marketing strategy. Remember the marketing activities? You had to think, what needs to be done a week before, 2 weeks before? What needs to be done a few days before? What needs to be done hours before? You need to think about that. You need to think about where you're going to hold it. Do you have enough capacity for the people that you're going to have? Are you going to have refreshments? Are you going to, there's a lot that goes into a meeting. It's not like, oh, I'm going to have a meeting. Let's call everybody and get them here right now. You have to plan it, okay? Does the activity need to be, and I just said that, does it need to be completed before the meeting? Does this activity support one of the objectives in the meeting? You need to make sure that everything is running together. You don't have activities or something required before a meeting that doesn't even, it's not even a part of that meeting. It has nothing to do with that meeting. Will participants need to complete an activity? And again, y'all can read through that. So let's talk about conducting an effective meeting. I think this is the part of this chapter that I really want you guys to focus on when you look at this chapter. Focus on the meeting leader. You need to know who the facilitator is. In this little group right here, who's the facilitator? Me, absolutely. I am facilitating or moderating this virtual class right now. I'm the one giving it. I'm the one everybody's focuses on, and I'm the one that's doing it. Okay, so make sure that you know a facilitator is someone who runs a meeting. All right, that's important. Now, the next thing is the facilitator's responsibility. It's for me to determine whether issues need to be tabled or not. What is tabled? Anybody tell me what tabled is?
Put to the side to the next meeting.
Correct. Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, it's putting something off to the next meeting. That's tabled. Look, we're just not going to cover that right now. We're going to wait until, just like I made the decision, or we, because I got your input as my students, aka employees, if we're talking about a business. We have tabled chapter 9 for Monday, right? We're just going to put it off till Monday. Would you rather want your hand or foot removed? This is interesting. I loved it. I sat in another class where the instructor asked that, and it was interesting to hear the comments back. So I'm just going to interject it. Anybody can pick. If you had to have a hand or a foot removed, which one would you choose? Go ahead. Just bounce in and tell me. Go ahead, RJ or Josh or anybody.
I'd rather my foot.
A hand. I said a hand.
Foot, hand.
1 foot.
1 foot.
I say hand.
Yellow Tasha,
hand.
Hand. Chateria, which one? Anybody else?
I need both my hands.
All right. So you notice 1 foot. All right. So you notice I just threw that question out there. Look how much response I got on that one question. So you get my point. So when you hold a meeting, you have to make sure you try to hold the attention, and that can be interesting sometimes. I fell in love with that question because he was going through this chapter, and all of a sudden he asked that question. Everybody's like, oh. I would have hand, foot, whatever. Everybody jumps in. So anyway, that just kind of stuck with me. I had to throw it out there to you guys. So again, and here I am, I'm refocusing you back on the chapter, right? That's in there, refocus in the group. If it breaks into several conversations, preventing anyone, again, from dominating, we went through that, and summarizing, okay? Those are some of my responsibilities or the facilitator's responsibilities. Now, I'm not going to read through all of these, but there are things. Y'all make sure you silence your mics, please. There are several things.
My shit always freezing right
there. Chateria, turn your mic off. So anyway, there are several things that help ensure a successful meeting. I think you can read through those. Obviously, come early. y'all know what time? I know class starts at 10. I'm getting here at 9:30. I'm getting all my stuff set up by 9:45. I'm trying to sign on by 10:00. All right. I had one day out of all these classes so far that I had issues and I got on a little late. So you want to be early. You want to be prepared. You want to have your sign-in sheet, start on time, use and follow the agenda. That's why I go through the book. When we do these classes, it's important that we go through our book. This is our agenda. This is our guideline, right? So we need to make sure we're using that. Understand and refer to the objectives of the meeting. Make sure everybody understands that objective. Robert, you got your, RJ, you got your hand up still? You got a question or just didn't hit it off? There you go. All right. So y'all can read through those. There's some warm-up activities you can read through, like introduction activities, appreciation activities. Did I tell y'all today how much I appreciate y'all? If I didn't, I'm telling you now, right? And am I yelling at y'all today? I'll never forget that for future classes. Competitive activities, hey, if y'all were in class, I'd see who could answer, divide you up in teams or something. And then team building activities. How many of y'all have been involved in team building activities? Somebody throw out there, what is one of the activities? Go ahead, RJ. What are some of the, what building activity did you do?
Man, I did so many, it's a whole lot of them in the military.
Just name one.
I guess one of the biggest ones is like, if you put out a message, will the message come back to you the same way it was put out?
Yeah, I've seen those. Another one that I've seen, if y'all were in class, I'd have y'all be building, who can get the marshmallow the highest using spaghetti, right? Have y'all ever done that one where you're having to use spaghetti and whoever ends up with the tallest structure with the marshmallow on top? That was hilarious. But yeah, so team building activities. Establishing ground rules, that sounds rudimentary or elementary. Obviously, you got to have ground rules. How is this meeting going to go? I set ground rules here. Turn your mics off so we don't have the distortion. I love the raise your hand option there. So, we've implemented that. It's setting some ground rules. Promptness, courtesy, breaks, interruptions, rotation and routine, question answer periods. All of those are ground rules, okay? Now, what is status quo? Who can tell me about status quo? Not quid pro quo, but status quo. Somebody just go ahead and bounce on. What is status quo? LaTanya, do you have any idea, LaTanya? Latasha, do you have any idea what status quo is?
How things are normally done in a business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So make sure you highlight that in your book, how things are normally done. Bottom line, that's status quo. All right. Now, managing a meeting, obviously minutes. Minutes are, again, they're a recording of what went on in the meeting, right? So you need to make sure you highlight that. You know what that is. All right. You may or may not see that on a future test. Action items. An action item is something that is part of an agenda that requires some sort of action. It's that simple, okay? If there's something in the agenda that requires action, it's called an action item. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. Minutes, when was the meeting? Who attended the meeting? Who did not attend the meeting, if that's important. If you're having a manager's meeting and you had a sign-in sheet or took roll and a specific manager wasn't there, then they didn't get the important information or whatever you were handing out to the group, right? So in that case, it may be important to know who's not there. I know I take attendance. It's important for me to know who's not here because they're missing the information. What was decided? What actions were agreed upon, and so forth and so on. You can read through those. That's on page 223, okay? All right. And of course, in summary, you know, you're going to close your meeting. This meeting is adjourned, is what a lot of people say. And you know, once that's done, final activities include reviewing the action items, ensuring everyone understands what they are and who's responsible for carrying them out. So you don't want to adjourn a meeting without everybody being clear about what it was about. And if there was any action, who's taking that action, okay? All right, now, I'm not going to read through the meeting evaluation and follow-up. I think y'all can look at that. You can send out surveys, whatever you want to do there. And that does conclude Chapter 8. So we are done for Friday. Kept it very clear, concise, not too wordy. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Patrice.
For the application exercise that's due today on page 226, it says break into groups of 3 or 4 and complete the following tasks. Do you just want us to ignore it and just still do the exercise?
Yeah, just you're not in groups. Just, what page was that?
Page 226.
You know what? It's Friday, and I'm feeling gracious. Don't do that assignment. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. One assignment off your plate. All right. I'll give all of you a check mark. Or let me rephrase that. Everybody who's in this class just got a pass. All right, so no application.
Patrice, you're my favorite.
Hey,
Hallelujah.
I'm going to go ahead and stop our video now. Everybody wave bye.